Story 1.
This story started as a means of catching a ghost on camera but ended up backfiring. And if we were not smarter, we could not have made it out alive that day. Back on April 4th, 2017, I and my friends were juniors in high school. We would always joke that our school was haunted due to a recent amount of bad things that had happened there. My school got so bad that we had 3 levels, almost like the mall where you could look over, but due to someone trying to jump off of them, they had to put bars there. Someone tried setting the bathroom on fire one time as well, and thankfully the firefighters did their job. We asked the question that day on April 4th. What happens when you go to a school at 3 in the morning? I remember when one of my friends said that we all looked at each other like a bunch of hoodlums that were just asking for trouble. We planned it out that day to show up at midnight at school and jump over the back gate to go in and explore. Now, of course, you could normally not get into the general school with the 3 levels. We ended up doing something really risky, though, and if it wasn't for a teacher leaving because they were sick, we could have never been able to do this. You see, one of our teachers got sick and left in a hurry and forgot their school ID that gets them into the doors, so when my friend saw it, he took it. My friend pulled it out of his pocket and swiped it, and it was like magic. The door had opened, and just like that, 3 people in all black with masks on went in. We planned on doing a thing that scans through radio stations to see if any spirits wanted to talk. So we went in the center of the school on the 2nd level where the math hall was, and we scanned. The words "don't do that" showed up. We asked if anyone was here and if they died or not, and then something said, "Look out." We paused and looked left and right and didn't see anyone, and then continued. We asked a couple more questions and nothing lined up, so we quit. We started talking about what we were going to do next, and that's when we heard a door open at the opposite side of the hallway at the end and then shut. Now these were metal doors, so when they open and shut in dead silence, it's very loud. Not a minute later, we hear footsteps going closer to us, so my friend whispers, "Run." We bolt out and go out to the side, we come in, and we hop over the gate again and go to the parking lot. A light can be seen where we were, and we all thought we were screwed because there is no way they didn't see us. We take a little walk down the street, and all agree we wanted more time to explore, so we went back. This time we went to the 3rd level, and we actually went into the hallway where the classes were, and that was lit up. I was feeling overly confident, and so I shouted the F word extremely loud. Both my friends hit me and told me if I did that again, they were going to leave me here by myself. We go down the hall and look for anything scary. Nothing is there but empty classrooms. We decided to leave and started laughing, and as we went down, we saw a light again and heard footsteps. What followed after that, though, was what turned our stomachs upside down. The voice of a woman saying she was a squatter and this was her home. She warned us she had a knife. As the light got brighter, we could see this woman, and she looked to be at least 300 pounds and was running after us with a phone flashlight and a blade. All 3 of us do a 180 and run to the end of the hall. Somehow one of us gets separated while we are now on the 2nd floor. We see a light, and it's our friend holding the door up at the other end of the hall. We bolt to him, and as we run down the hall that leads to the double doors to the stairs, we see the woman come out of those doors with an angry, horrifying face, running after us laughing. We turn around and run out and escape and cross the street to our car and drive off. As we leave, we can see the woman in the parking lot looking for us. The next morning the cops are at the school, and we hear them say they arrested a squatter, and if it wasn't for 3 hooded men trespassing, then she would have never gotten caught.
Story 2.
11 years ago, I moved out of my childhood home in the country into the city. To this day, I still hear it's an extremely haunted place filled with every criminal you can think of. It's nowhere near as bad as it was back then. I always told myself if I ever got a car and had money, I would explore it. I couldn't go alone though, so I thought of my friend, and he was happy because he also grew up here, and he had been gone for a while as well. We meet up, and we catch up and go to Target to get some supplies like flashlights, water, on-the-go food, portable chargers, and masks. Then we head out with a full tank of gas, and it takes us a bit to get there, and we arrive. The problem with it, though, is there is so much out there and very few houses. I told him since we both miss our houses and they are both gone, let's chill out and camp out by them. I told him we can go to his first, then mine. So we pull up to this pile of dirt where he used to live and we stop. We get out, and I lock the door, and we walk with our masks and flashlights and a bottle of water each. I got mad at first because I stepped in a pile of horse poop and my friend chuckled. And then it was dead silent. I said that's all I get is one laugh, and I look up. I still to this day cannot describe what I saw. It looked as if a person was standing 10 feet away but had no characteristics. No face, clothes, bones, or movement. All you could see is him raising his hand to scratch his head, and then he turns with his head rotating, and I and my friend run as fast as we can to the car, and he starts it and we drive off. The amount of chills that came from that made me feel like I was being watched the whole night. Takes us only 3 minutes now to get to where my childhood home used to be. The yard looks just like my friend's yard. Empty, but where my house was, you just see grass and flowers. Unlike my friend's spot where he just had dirt there. Me and my friend are still shook up, so we just talk about childhood games like the Xbox 360, and we start looking at our phones. My friend says, "Are you ready to explore?" And I say yes, and we get out. We were looking around, and to be honest, nothing was too scary besides the scenery. There was a vast amount of trees and wind, so all you heard was the wind and the trees going back and forth. It was reasonably dark because we used to pay our own street light bill, and well, now we've moved out, so that isn't a thing anymore. Thankfully, we had flashlights though. I was hoping that I wouldn't do this, but I was really young and dumb. There was a path that led down to a waterfall, and I told my friend. He agreed, and we were ready in case we came face to face with a snake or wolf. 10 minutes pass, and we finally make it down there, and as soon as we get there, we realize it was a big mistake. Everything turns dead silent again, which means no trees or wind. We started to hear crunching, and my friend and I turned off our lights and lay down on the floor. In the distance, we could see what looked like a torch with fire, and we could hear Native American chants, and they seemed to be getting closer to us. I could feel the blood in my body stop, and I got the worst goosebumps ever. I would feel as if my heart had stopped as well. I and my friend rushed up the trail and back to our car to be met with rocks busting out the front driver's mirror. My friend and I are screaming frantically and cursing as the car is starting to drive off, and I haven't been back since. That day is a day where I prayed that if anyone explored any places, they wouldn't do it alone.
Story 3.
There had been a house since I was a kid that was abandoned. I remember ever since I was 5 years old that my parents would tell me to never go to it. It was across the street to the right, and I had looked at it all through school and even while working now at 30, living with my parents. Multiple times the city tried tearing it down, but someone would always say no and was still paying for the land. Even though no one lived there, it was rumored to have electricity and running water. The last time someone who was not from around here went in, they went to jail, and no one ever heard from them again. It never crossed my mind once that I should go check it out or even study it because it's like an arm or leg. It's been a part of you for so long that you never look at it. One night my parents told me they wanted to go out and asked if I would babysit the dogs for them and pick up. The place was clean already, but I said okay and I love y'all, and they left. Some hours passed and I played my old Xbox 360 that was new at the time, and I watched some regular TV. I remember I went to the fridge and I opened it to get a soda, and the phone rang. I said, "Yes, who is this?" Someone said they were delivering a package, and they said the address of the abandoned place. I said, "No, I'm sorry, you must have a mistake because no one currently lives there or has lived there for a very long time," and they said okay, and they hung up. I think nothing of it, and the night ends, and I go to sleep after my parents get home. I wake up the next day to go to work, and I drive past the place, and on the other side of the gate, I see a package, and me being curious, I stop down the street and get out. I go check it out, and the box looks like it had been thrown around and kicked, and someone must have known about the place being abandoned because they wrote, "Have fun, Casper the Friendly Ghost," on the box. I guess implying it was delivered to a ghost. Right away, this wild thought in my head goes off, and I say if it's gone by the time I get off work, then I'm gonna go investigate. Sure enough, when I get off work, it's gone. So I call my mom, and I tell her my job's throwing a party, and I'll be home late. She says okay and then hangs up, and then I go around the back and hop the fence and I'm in. Now, I would never think this place would be wide open, but to my surprise, the back door was unlocked. The first thing I noticed was this old smell of wood and this creepy wallpaper on the walls that sent chills down my spine. This place has to have been very old because as I walked forward, I could see a little brown mini shelf with records on it along with a record player. Everything was covered in dust. including an old TV from the 80s along with a recliner that was this camouflage type of green. I go to the fridge, and it's actually the only thing that's not dirty, and it has one thing, and it's a soda that has an Enter to Win sweepstakes on it. It definitely was a very old soda. If I could go back, I would take it home. I was so interested in where this box could have been, though I didn't even think twice about going upstairs. The first step made a loud creak that honestly made me the most scared I had been in my life. I did not say this, but every part of that house made a sound every single second that I was there. As I made it upstairs, I heard a car. Now there was no way to get in unless someone had a key to the lock on the outside, so I brushed it off and didn't even look. Not to mention no one's ever pulled in the driveway since I can remember. I go up to the bedroom, and I see a bed frame with no bed and a chair and a mini desk. On the desk there is a piece of paper that says things to do today. Then it has dots with no writing, like they forgot or something. There were a few more rooms that were basically empty and had curtains in them. I swear if I wanted to, I could make a horror movie there. I think maybe 10 minutes pass after I leave the last room, and I get a text from my dad. "Hey son, I just wanted to let you know something crazy happened. About 30 minutes ago, someone unlocked the gate to that abandoned house and parked in there. A man got out smoking about half a pack of cigarettes, and now he is about to go in. You should come home so we can watch a horror movie." Little did my dad know I was in that house. As quick as I could, I ran to the back door, but it was too late because the man would see me, so I went upstairs into one of the room's closets. All I could hear at first was a bunch of coughing and a man grumbling. For the first time, the house seemed to be quiet until I heard the man scratching his face, saying this house was all he has now. He keeps on coughing, and I lose my balance and step back and make the loudest creak ever. All I hear is dead silence for 60 seconds, and then I hear footsteps coming up the stairs. I made the decision to leave every door open, which was so bad to do because they were all shut. I hear the man walking into the room I'm in, and he looks around. Another mistake I made was leaving the closet door cracked because it shows that it's open. The man walks up the closet slower than I've ever heard him walk, and each step is louder as he gets closer. Somehow I didn't know he had a 40-ounce beer in his hand. He has one eye in the crack, and he leans back and takes a big sip. Just as he walks away, he stops, and I think, okay, that's it. He has seen me, but he ends up doing the most unexpected thing ever. He puts his foot through the wall and yells and walks down the stairs. I waited for what must have been 3 hours and 20 missed calls from my family, and I finally heard the man go out the front door. And when I heard this, I bolted as fast as I could to the back, and I went to the right, and I was met with my worst nightmare. It's the man 10 feet away from me, and he says, "Hey, I want to talk to you," and I run the opposite direction as he runs after me. I'm thankful he was not athletic because I hopped in the backyard behind him to run into the owner of that house, and the man shook the gate that had a cover on it so he couldn't see the other side and yelled at the top of his lungs, "Get back over here. It's not fair." As loud as he can, he does that for at least a minute and then stops. I go back to the guy's house behind him, and he agrees to drive me to my car, and I go back to home. When I get back home, every light in the man's house is on, and the front and back doors are open. As I get in, I tell my parents everything, and they, of course, chew me out because they told me to not go there since I was a kid, and well, now I'm not young. The guy never went back that day, thankfully, and eventually the house got torn down and a new one got built. I'll never forget the time, though I could have lost my life so close to my home.